You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Good evening and welcome into the Sporting Time Show. We've got a special show for you tonight, and welcome in again. High school football season is officially underway along with volleyball and soccer. It's a busy time of year. I want to welcome in my guest host today, Chad Young from Talk 104.93 WKCT. He's been there for 22 years. He's also the program director there. And Chad, welcome.
Thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good having you here. You know, I just learned some things before we went on air. 22 years. I did not know that.
Yeah, I started at WKCT between my sophomore and junior years of college, and I had a full-time job there after I graduated, and I've been there ever since.
And it's crazy. You and I have known each other for many years. And, you know, we've done a little bit of radio, but you've done it 22 years. But you also are the tennis coach over at South Warren, and you've done that for 11 seasons?
Yeah, I started doing high school sports. I actually started stringing for the Daily News, so covering high school sports for the paper, and then moved into radio in 2003, and then started coaching high school tennis when South Warren opened in 2011. That was my first head coaching job. I've been an assistant at Greenwood for a couple of years before that, so I've been the only tennis coach they've had out of South Warren.
I mean, you and Gage have something in common, right?
Yeah,
he's the only baseball coach.
There's like 4 or 5 of us, I think, that are the originals. So
that's great.
Have to be doing something right, or they would have gotten rid of me by now.
No kidding. Yeah. So why tennis? I mean, did you play in high school, college?
Yeah, I mean, tennis was the sport that I excelled at the most. It was the sport that I really loved and was the best at. But in college, I started coaching Babe Ruth baseball. I coached a little bit of basketball. So tennis was actually not the first sport that I coached. Yeah. But tennis is certainly the sport I like coaching the most.
And you still play? You play yourself still today?
Yeah, I play pretty regularly. And tennis is maybe a different sport than others because of the longevity of it. Yeah. And I really probably think I'm a better tennis player today than I was when I was in high school or in my early 20s.
So, I mean, you've got to be pretty fired up about what's happening at Buchanan.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
The addition of the indoor tennis courts.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for the tennis community, and I think the community as a whole. It's been something that we've really lacked for several years here. So I'm appreciative of the fiscal court and Chris Kummer at Parks and Rec, and really excited about that. It's getting really close now.
You know, I also played tennis in high school, but I also played racquetball in college and played racquetball longer than I played tennis. Do you find that you kind of gravitate towards racket sports? I mean, did you try racquetball at all?
Yeah, I actually started playing racquetball in college as well. Yeah. And a lot of people started playing pickleball.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
I haven't touched it yet because I found I did not like playing racquetball and tennis at the same time because the swings are very different. The swing paths are very different. Yeah. And it messed up one by doing the other. So I'm a little hesitant to get into pickleball.
But pickleball, you know, it's one of the hottest growing racket sports in the country. I mean, pickleball courts are going up everywhere.
Yeah, pickleball is a little easier on the body. Yeah. You know, tennis can be kind of tough on your body as you get older. And that's why pickleball has exploded, I think. Not to say that only older people do it. It's a great sport for young people, too. But that's why pickleball, I think, has grown so much.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's easier on your body. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can go for that. You know, it's interesting. I was someone told me about this app called Cameo, right? Where
I've heard of it.
Okay, so
are you on there, Doug?
No, I'm not on there. But I thought, you know, this is a great. Maybe we need to just, you know, you're making a Cameo. Maybe we just need to start something where you know, it's we do the ST Cameo.
That's right.
And we bring on somebody new each week. But I'm super glad you're here. And of course, for our viewers, we tape the show prior to Friday night. So Chad and I can't really talk about the Rafferty's Bowl.
That's right.
Because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So we can't even. We could predict, but you
never know. You don't want to look. It's one thing to make a prediction and be wrong about something in the future. It's even worse to predict something that is in the past.
I hear you. I know. Yeah. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I get to talk to my old high school football coach. Wow, that is going to be so much fun. Stay tuned. More of the Sporting Time Show right here on WNKY NBC 40. Welcome back to the show. You may have heard me talk about my days as a Pinckney Pirate. 42 years ago, I was a senior, and every time we get to football season, I think back to those days. They were very influential to me, very important to me, and one of the reasons why were the coaches that coached me. Well, I am very pleased to introduce one of my coaches back in the day, Coach Tim Cogswell, as my guest. Coach, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Doug. Thank you for having me on.
This is, it's not surreal, but it is so much fun because those days in Pinckney, to me, were incredibly special. And I know times have changed because I still participate with the Sporting Times in high school sports, and I know that you coached and helped coach prior to COVID back in 2020. But there's been a lot of changes, but I want to kind of go back in time to those days when you coached myself and others. And I want to start off by asking you, what got you involved in coaching? I mean, what was the motivator?
Well, I wanted to play as long as I could. And when that time came up in college, I was done. I wanted to stay in sports. And I guess my high school football coach was the biggest influence on me pursuing coaching.
Yeah, and again, you played at a very high level in college. You played at Eastern Michigan University as a wide receiver. And I just found out prior to going live that you were actually brought on as a defensive guy. How did they decide to make you to get you on offense?
Well, I'll tell you, I was as an incoming freshman, I didn't see the field very often. And I was mostly on scout teams, and I played wide receiver on the scout teams against the defensive backs. And I guess I did pretty good because they decided, hey, he should be playing wide receiver. So I did.
Yeah. And then, you end up in Pinckney, Michigan. And of course, again, Pinckney, just a few miles outside of Ann Arbor, not that far, for those folks that wonder where Pinckney, Michigan is. And, I think back to some of the things that we did as a team. Of course, back in the late 70s, we worked out, we did things back then that you can't do today, right? I mean, there are things that you can't, coaches are out there checking the heat index and doing things like that, and we didn't do that back then.
No, it was nose to the grindstone kind of thing. You hit so much in practice that they don't even come close to the way you hit back in high school and so on. Coaches have gotten a lot smarter, to tell you the truth, and try to stay away from injuries.
Yeah, no kidding. It was interesting. We got a couple minutes left in this segment. I told you this would go fast. But I want to ask you, and it kind of reminds me of Remember the Titans movie, when we got on the buses and we went to Camp Talahi for a week. Man, that was like you left everything behind, and you, Coach McGuinty, and Coach Wilson were in charge. How much did you enjoy that?
Well, I'll tell you, that was a handful because you got football players, you wonder what they're doing when you're not seeing them in person. But you guys were all great kids. We didn't have to worry about you much, and they probably should have retired your number, by the way, 61. You were a good player, boy.
Well, listen, it's on record now. I wasn't going to ask Coach to validate me as a player because you don't know. I mean, it could go either way. For a fact I couldn't catch the ball very well. That's why I was on defense.
You were a guard, too. So
yes, yeah. It was a lot of fun. I think back also, and we've got about 45 seconds, but I want to ask you about the times that we would go into the gym and we would have to lay down and they'd shut the lights off, and then you and Coach Wilson would ask us to explain the way that our blocking technique or our run technique. Who came up with that? Because that was way before kind of that time.
Well, that was Coach Wilson, and he was a good mentor for me because you worked till your butt couldn't work anymore, and he did some things that I don't know, they probably still don't do today, but he got results. And
it was amazing. Stay tuned, Coach. We're going to take a short break. More of the Sporting Times right here on WNKY NBC. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Again, I want to welcome in my special guest, Coach Tim Cogswell, my high school football coach back from Pinckney High School days. And Coach, welcome back to the show. I want to ask you, and again, for a point of reference for our viewers, we had some pretty long road trips back in the day, and it would be equivalent to going from Franklin to Russell County when we went from Pinckney to Bath. And I remember always those long road trips, you guys would have us stop at a rest area, get the entire team out, I think in full gear, or at least without the shoulder pad, and do the stretches, and then we would roll into a stadium, and we'd be ready to play. We wouldn't stretch at the stadium. Do you remember us doing that?
I sure do. I remember we did that at Bath, and we did that also at Perry, where we even did our special teams and everything on the park going on the way to Perry. And you got to think that the people in Perry say, are they showing up? There had to be a little bit of I don't know, what's going on with Pinckney? Are they coming? Or
right,
what?
Right.
And then we roll on the bus, and our kids rolled off and usually kick their butts. And element of surprise, I guess.
It was interesting because, we'd be off the interstate, people would be going by honking and things like that. But, that was an interesting memory I had. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, my mother kept a pretty good scrapbook, and we're getting ready to move, and I found it, and I started going through some things. And back then, players weren't interviewed. It was always the coaches that were interviewed. It was always quotes from you, or it was quotes from Coach Wilson about the team. Things have really changed in that respect down here, where there's a lot of media attention, there's a lot of live streaming, there's a lot of interviewing the student athlete. Do you find that to be true today?
Oh, for sure. There's so much news out there about every team that you don't even have to scout them anymore. You don't scout. You get films from people and they break it down for you, and it's incredible what media has done to all sports.
Yeah.
Another thing that Pinckney went through, not in your time, but was pay to play. And the part about that is it makes the parents feel like they're enablers, like they own part of the team, and they really don't. And sometimes that can be a problem with parents wanting too much control. And I don't like the pay to play thing at all.
So is that going on in high school where they have to do that?
Oh, yes. It's
really?
Going on still here. Yeah, they have pay to play.
Wow.
Yes.
That's interesting. I noticed I was up in Pinckney several weeks ago, and I noticed that they were getting a new field, a new turf. I went by the stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. I mean, it is so much different than West Reeder Field that we played on.
Wouldn't you like to play that new stadium?
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. It's awesome. It's awesome. In fact, that field is being paid for from the last bond money, because when they put it in, they said +1, which meant that field +1 when it got old.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be turfing the practice field.
That's amazing. I mean, that truly is amazing. We have about 90 seconds, Coach. Quickly, I know that your son coaches at Pinckney, or he did. I think he still does.
Yes, he still does.
How much fun or how enjoyable was it for you to be up in the press box and coaching and him being down in the field and being able to go through that process?
I'll tell you, I don't know how to describe it. It's a feeling I hope everyone could have.
Yeah.
Sit right, my son on my right, and I'm on the headphones, and he's on the headphones, and we're talking about plays and so on. It's incredible, the feeling I have as a father.
Yeah, it's amazing. We get an opportunity to talk to a lot of father-son coaches or mother-daughter teams that coach. But I got to tell you, Coach, your influence on me was way greater than just sports itself. And it's carried me through a lot of corporate life and a lot of things. And I think a lot of people out there who know coaching and know teams, that how important it is. I want to thank you very much for taking time to be here today. And also, Fred Rickelman, one of the fastest running backs back in the day, challenge you to a golf match. When we get back up into Pinckney, we're going to get on your calendar and get you out there. You're going to have to give us some strokes. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
God. You're going to have to give us strokes. I want to also mention my son, Jared, who was a great coach with me, too. So,
great coach and a great musician, I think, as well. Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you, Carol. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Chad Young and I will wrap things up right here on the Sporting Time Show. Welcome back to the show. Boy, I just had a lot of fun kind of reminiscing with my old coach. And again, Chad Young is our co-host today. And Chad, did you have high school coaches that were influencers for you?
Yeah, you told me I was going to have to answer that question, so I did give it a little bit of thought. And I think they certainly influenced me as a player, but I'd say they probably more influenced me as a coach.
Yeah.
And, my tennis coach in high school was very laid back. And that is something that doesn't come real naturally for me, but I see how impactful that is when a coach remains calm. Tennis is a little bit different than other sports. I mean, sometimes in basketball or in football, if a coach gets fired up on the sideline, it kind of motivates the team.
Right.
In tennis, I've had to learn that the more calm I appear, the more calm that my players remain.
Yeah, and if you get too fired up, I mean, everybody on court 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 hears you, right?
Yeah, it's a very different environment than if you're hooting and hollering in a packed basketball arena.
It is. So you are on your way. We mentioned Rafferty's, of course. Bowling Green right now is playing Highlands. You're on your way to WKU to broadcast the South Warren Spartans versus North Hardin. Man, everybody's kind of penciled in South Warren this year as maybe the team to beat.
Yeah.
North Hardin last year had a great season. I think they lost some important pieces to their team.
They've lost a lot, and this was a game that I know Brandon Smith really wanted to play last year. It was supposed to be the regular season finale, and it had RPI implications, and it was canceled. Like several because of COVID. So I know that this is a game they really wanted to play last year. Glad to have North Hardin because it still factors in the RPI.
Right.
So I'm they've got their quarterback back from last year. He's a really talented player, but South Warren returns an awful lot of skill, an awful lot of talent, and so I think they're excited about kicking off the season tonight.
It's interesting, too, because the Purples are going to be playing Boyle County. Mm-hmm. And
Brandon's alma mater, yeah.
Exactly, and I know that Brandon had said that, because he was always asked, are you going to play your dad? Mm-hmm. And he said, it's really not up to me. He said, my mom has said that we will never play against each other. So, I mean, this is probably as close as it's going to get.
Probably, yeah.
But
he's playing his former, they're playing his former teammate. Justin Haddix, who is now the coach at Boyle County. So, so there's a lot of links between Boyle County and South Warren.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. Of course, we've already had a cancellation because of a positive COVID with Warren Central, and of course Mark Nelson I know is chomping at the bit to get this season underway and get that team, get that ship righted, and I think he's the right guy to do it.
Yeah, he certainly has a track record of turning around programs. Yeah. He did it at Greenwood. He did it down in Portland. He certainly established some things the right way at South Warren that has led to the success that they've had. So and it's not just Mark. It's Coach Cavanaugh. Yeah. A lot of the guys that were part of the success they had at some of those previous stops are there, and so I think this will be the year that they're able to snap the streak.
I agree, and of course Coach Hood is going to be on the sideline as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to get to the lightning round here. You and I are going to make some quick picks for next week, but we got about 90 seconds left. Real quick, if you had a crystal ball, how much do you think this Delta variant is going to disrupt the season?
Boy, I wish I knew. I think a month ago nobody really thought it would be so similar to 2020. But if we made it through 2020, I guess I'm confident that we'll make it through 2021 without any major disruptions. I guess I'm at least optimistic for that.
I hope so as well. We got about a minute. Lightning round real quick. Monroe County at ACS.
ACS.
I agree with you. Metcalfe County at Bellevue. Don't know a lot about Bellevue, but I really like Metcalfe.
But Bellevue didn't win a game last year, so I'm going with Metcalfe.
I'm with Metcalfe as well. Logan County at Christian County.
Tough one. We saw Christian County twice last year at South Warren, so I'm going with Logan.
All right, I like that pick as well. Greenwood travels to Franklin Simpson. You and I talked about this off air. Greenwood has a lot of great parts coming back. Yeah. Franklin is going to get there. They may.
I don't think they're there yet. So Greenwood has had some success in Franklin in the past. I think they'll win that one.
All right, we've got 15 seconds. Bowling Green at McCracken County.
Tough one, really tough. But I think Bowling Green pulls it out in a close one.
South at Hendersonville.
I'm an idiot if I pick somebody other than South Warren.
Chad, thank you very much. Will you come back and see us again?
Absolutely. Would love to do it.
All right. Chad Young from WKCT. Listen to him. For Doug Thompson and Chad Young, have a fantastic week. Stay safe. We'll see you same time, same place. Good night.